Show here on the 10th of March 2022, and I figured this would be a good time as any. I'm going to do the excuse me, the review on my Mobilio. This has been an absolutely fantastic car since we've had it. This is 3 years this month, and just a lot of the things I like. I had to replace the battery. The old battery got a crack in it. Now what I did was I took that off of there so that I can get to these lifetime batteries. Yeah, they don't last very long if you don't do it. The air cleaner is really easy to get to. I had already they said every 3 years they want you to suck all the fluid out and replace it. I had it done at 2 because it was getting discolored. And it also is a hydraulic for the clutch, which is, I don't know if you can see, it's right here. Very easy to get to everything there. The lines are routed really well. Easy to get to the oil. Wishy-washy radiator. It's got a little miniature radiator tank. This thing never really gets hot. The oil filter is basically down there. The only thing I wish that this thing had, instead of the oil filter being sideways, because I like to fill them up with oil, I wish that it would go straight up so that I could fill it full of oil and then cinch it down. But this one I got to fill it up about a little bit more than halfway full, and I can get it on without it dripping all over. It's got the rack and pinion, which is still tight as can be. Let's see if it still does it. Look at this. I'm on the lock. I'm going from lock to lock. I hope you can see that. I'm just moving it. So everything in this rack and pinion is super tight. A lot of things I like about it. The handling on it is just super. It doesn't roll. You know, when you get into corners, I had to do an emergency maneuver one time, and it did not roll. It tracked perfectly. Even my buddy that was riding, we were caravanning, and he went, "Man, you guys almost got wiped out." And morning.
Good morning.
And I said, "Yeah, but the car really did a good job. It just absolutely handled fantastic. There was no way to brake in time. It would have been worse if we'd have braked, but it just did super. So the car is stoit. This thing is really." Okay, so I'm gonna let that drop, and it does have kind of a little cold air thing where it takes the cooler air in from the front, which is kind of good. But the other thing I really like about it, I think it's a good-looking car. I really think it's a beautiful car all the way around. You know, it's a Honda. Honda does a great job. The styling's real nice for me. When I first saw this, I laughed. I didn't think I needed it, but yeah, you do need it here. Sometimes going through the mountains, your windows will all fog up. But I'll show you some other things. There's some things I would have liked better, that's for sure. But this one here, you got your gas cap block. It's right down here. Of course, your hood's there. But I'll get in and we'll show you what we got. We don't have much stuff in the way of cubbies. People don't realize this, but I took this visor off here because if you look at my head where it is, that visor was actually blocking about that much of my view, so I took it off. It's down between the seat. This one is the only one that has the little mirror on it. Oop, there's my gas card, or my toll card. And so that's kind of neat. Put my polarized driving glasses on there. One of the things I did in this car that for the camera, when we put the camera on, I got this three suction cup one. I had a single suction cup one, but it would come loose. I had to put some RTV on here so that it held, because this is pebbly. One of the things I just can't stand about this car, this radio that they put in here, this Kenwood, is absolutely a worthless piece of crap. It's the worst radio I ever had in a car in my entire life. So, you know, Honda could have done a lot better job than that. The other thing that's kind of tough on this car is it's really hard. Look, this is my eye level. It's really hard to see the front end because it rolls down. So it's a little bit hard to judge that. It's really easy to judge from the side because, you know, my arm reaches right here. So that's easy. It's the 5-speed. and got your good park and brake, which is real nice on hills. I just love a stick shift. I'd rather have a stick shift than anything else. One of the things that's really tough on this car is right here. If anything falls down in here, you cannot reach to get it. But there's lots of room under the seats for stuff, even these seats, and these adjust too. So that's really cool. The air conditioner works fantastic, but you got to keep they're inside of here. Once you push this in, drops it, your air filters are right there. They get gummed up. They never go 6 months. They usually go about 2-3 months before I clean them, but then they just got to be replaced because it seems like they get a black goo in them. We don't get any kind of bad smell coming through this air conditioner system though. Like I had a Kia Sorento, and man, that thing right off the bat, it got funky, nasty smell to it. We took it to the dealer and they had to constantly scrub it out, and when the warranty was up where they weren't going to run that stuff and run it out anymore, I just got rid of it. I sold it because it was absolutely horrible. So this one doesn't do that at all, which is a feature. It's got these little lights. One of the other things I just cannot stand about this car, I would like it when you close the door, the light goes out. This one's got that delay on it. So if the kids get in here, if you put it right here, it's on delay. If you put it here, they stay on. Well, the kids in the back will turn that one on, all the way on, and then that delay's on, so you don't think nothing of it, and you come out and your battery's low. So that kind of sucks. I wish they would just get back or give me a provision to where I can switch it so that it'll just shut off. Because sometimes when you're somewhere and you just want to crack the door for a minute to turn your light on. Now, it would be nice to have it do that, but also I like the feature on the key fob where you can turn the lights on, because when you're going to get in your car at night, it's always very nice to kick the light on and look inside, give a quick look inside, make sure nobody's hiding in a hidey hole back there or something. But I never tinted the windows. I need to see at night. I don't like to drive at night in any way, but here it's really rough because everybody high beams you. They got their windows tinted out so black that they cannot see. It's like their low beams aren't even on. I was in a buddy's truck, and he's got his tinted out black, and we got home late, and when he had his regular lights on, it didn't look like he had lights on. It was just so dark, and I'm trying to help him watch, and then he put his high beams on, then you could see, but he also had this big light bar that he was using. So he was blinding the crap out of people and just didn't care. So I'm not one for all this tint. The car doesn't get that hot anyway, but that's the way it goes. The other thing that's kind of a bummer to me is this lock here. If you lock this, I lose control of these three. I still have control of mine, and the auto's nice, but I lose control of these. I sure wish Honda would do it to where when I lock this, I could lock out those back three, but I could still have control of it. I know it's just a simple thing to push this out, but if I forget to leave it, the kids are dicking with the windows all the time, and I don't like that. When we get on the road, I don't like to ride with the windows down other than just to cool the car off when we go out of here, and then I like to put them up to keep the noise out and also to keep the dust and goo out. But the other thing about this radio too, they got this thing here. It's supposed to be a charging port. You can't charge anything through this port, but it's supposed to be able to put your phone's music through there. There's no Bluetooth. You can't do any of it. When you turn this radio on, I leave it on all the time and just turn the volume down. But if you go to turn it on, it goes through modes. And the last thing you want to be doing when you're turning on a radio is having to look at it to figure out where you are. It's just a really poor design. It's an accident maker, I think. I don't like it at all. But the other thing, this thing also has, by the way, it has a tilt wheel. It's really hard to get to this tilt wheel handle to find it. But this is nice for on the highway. But for me, look what it does. It blocks my view of the speedometer. So I usually just leave it up unless I'm on the highway. But I'll show you what else I really like about the mirrors on it. They are fantastic. I did put the camera one on, but these seats move up. I think I showed this before. Oh, this is down here. Hold on. I don't know why it's not releasing now. Yeah, I'm telling you how good the seats are, and now it doesn't want to release. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, don't know why that one don't want to release. That's really stupid. But these seats move up and back for some more leg room or less, depending on where you're at. That's the first time that it didn't release. This is something I really hate. My wife packs this thing so full of crap all the time. If we want to go shopping, I got to contend with all this. But I do have my work box. I would have loved to show you where the jack and all that is, but I don't feel like pulling all this crap out of here. But these seats are nice. These things, you just rolls down, and then you have more space. And if you want to fold them up, there's just a little cable that connects it to the back of there. That seems to work pretty nice, but it's all full again of stuff. And we've never really done anything with that stuff. We just drag it around. So that's a Filipino thing. But the reception on this radio is also something that's horrible. They have the antenna back here. There's basically no station we can get in this area that isn't staticky and crackly. It's just not. It's just absolute garbage radio. That's one of the things I'd like to do is replace that. But it's just ridiculous to get it replaced because it's got that little faceplate comes off, and you can put it in your purse or pocket or whatever and take it in, and the main unit is way up underneath the dash, and that looks like a real problem to get to. I was looking at it thinking, man, you know what, you're going to have to take the dash out. And I always hated to take dashes out. Even I had one at the dealer. The dealer had to get in there under my dash one time for the computer, and they took the dash out to get to it, and they put it back, and then that dash always rattled. I even brought it back. Hey, this thing's rattling now. Take it for a drive. It never rattled before, so I hate to take dashboards out. They never go back in the way they're at the factory. So, that's why I haven't done the radio yet. But I want to get new tires for it. But I'm just afraid with all this. Look at this. Look at our hole we live in. The dump. This is the Demeterland dump. They're not going to clean this up. We've complained. I'm going down to the Barron guy, and I'm going to talk to them and see what can be done. I've worked construction sites my whole life, and I have never, ever in my life seen a crap hole like this. But I got 3 plugs in that tire. I got 2 in this one. I've got a plug in this one and a plug in that one. And only 2 plugs came from before we got here. The rest of them are all from here. And it's all happening right here. It's happening right here on these streets. Look at that. Looky there. Ha! Go figure, huh? See, we go around at nighttime with the flashlights, the kids and I, when we do our walks, and we go around, and you would not believe how many nails and screws. Dorothy just picked up a screw this morning. She's out with her mom. They're doing the school thing. They're having a girls' day out, so they got to run up to the school and look at all their stuff up there. And then what they're going to do is they're going to go out to town. They're going to ride the jeepney into town and just do girl stuff. So that's a fantastic day for Dorothy and Faye. I'm really glad that they get out and do that kind of stuff. It's early in the month, and I said, yeah, knock yourself out, go do stuff. We were at the mall yesterday with everybody, and we had a blast. We got the kids some coloring books and some learning materials, stuff like that, at the National Bookstore. That's a good place to go if you want to, when you want to get stuff, you might say, stuff for the kids. It's a pretty good store. You got to watch for their sales. Every time we go in there, there's always tables out where they have sales and stuff. So we always hit that area first. And I needed a notepad, and my wife found them over in the shelf, and I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But it was like 50 peso, and I'm like, well. So I'm looking around while they're going around doing all their stuff. I found it on the exact same one on the sale table for 16 pesos. It was a different brand, but it was the same thing. I don't care what brand it is. Paper's paper to me. It's just for my scribbles when I'm doing the videos and stuff like that. My memory, you might say. But that's our little buggy, though. That's the Honda Mobilio, 2018 Honda Mobilio. I told you already on the thing about the ORCR. Ours is dated May, so we have to go down there and pay a little bit. But we got her cleaned up, got her a wash. When you go to the car washes here, we used to have a car wash that came right to our house. He was a pretty good guy. Then we had, when he stopped coming, we had another one. It was like 90 pesos, 100 pesos like that. We always give him like 200. This one up here to do this car inside and out is 150 pesos. We give him 200. I would have gave them more, but they are absolutely the slowest, and they miss stuff. You know, I'm looking at dust all over my dash. So they miss stuff. We're going to look again and see if we could find another one. I actually, when I was leaving, I said, "You all done?" And I said, and I looked. I showed her some of the stuff on the dash, and she got in there and wiped it off. But I shouldn't have to show them anything. If this is your job to do something, you shouldn't miss anything. This is what you do. You know, if I was an electrician and I started wiring a house and 3 of my plugs in a house that has 150 plugs in it, I missed them and forgot to run wire to them, I'd get fired. You know, you got to do your job. You got to. It doesn't matter what job you are. I don't care if you're a janitor or you're a corporate CEO. We all have an importance, and do your job well. You know, just that was one thing I was taught very young. To, you know, when you're doing something, do it right the first time. Do it right, and you know, we'll find we'll find another one maybe, or this one will get fixed up. But next one I'm going to do is probably going to be the bike here. I'm going to take the side panels off. I got to get it clean. It's grubby. I hate to even ride it. It looks so bad right now. It's just one of them deals. But I have to tell you guys, all of us love this. We love this buggy. I really don't have that many faults, you know, little niggly stupid things, but when it comes to like the motor, I know some of my buddies in the States, they say, "Oh, well, you know, 1500 motor." You know, I got a 5.7, you know, and this thing's a 1.5. Well, you know something? It's Honda Motor Corporation. It's got where the cam does its change. It revs up to 7,000 RPM. And when you go to get on the highway, it's as quick as anything I've ever driven. It gets up to speed in no time. Now, you're not going to be doing the speeds here like you can do in the States. When I traveled across country, I was in a big Lincoln, and from St. Louis on, I was doing 120 miles an hour. Nobody was bugging you. You know, you're not going to do that here anywhere. You're just not. So, you know, 100 kilometers per hour, which is about 62 miles an hour, maybe 120 kilometers per hour is about as high as you're going to get. I've seen people doing faster, but they're always hitting their brakes and all that stuff. And also, by the way, I have to honestly tell you, the brakes on this thing are really fantastic too. Even though it's got the drums in the back, the brakes on the car are just super duper. It's just the Honda pads. I usually on a lot of cars I've upgraded the pads. You know, I've gone to a different brand for better. But these brakes on here coming from Honda, they clean them every time I go for the service. They take the drums off. They clean everything real good. And what I'm going to do when they replace the pads, I'm going to have to replace the spring kit and everything. I was never one for leaving the old springs in there. When I was very young, I had a Chevy. I had this old Chevy car, and I was doing the brakes, and I was doing it right by. I asked the guy at the Napa, "Can I do it in the parking lot?" I mean, these things are that bad. And he's like, "Yeah," because they also were going to turn the drum for me because the drum was just chowed, and this is the way I got it. And he's like, "Sure." So he wound up. He said, "I can't turn your drum for you, but guess what? I've got one for you I can give you a good deal on." So I did that, and he's like, "Hey, you better change the spring kit while you're in there." And I'm like, "Nah, I'll just put these on." And I have the tools for it. And the little spring clip, I got a whole brake box. And I put it on. You know something? 2 weeks later, one of the springs broke. And from then on, I don't mess with it. Those springs take a lot of heat. Whenever I do the brake pads, I do a spring kit on drum brakes. I don't mess around. Also, like these calipers, I do have a brake box. When I was a young guy, for extra money, I would do, brake jobs were getting expensive for people, and neighbors and friends and everything would come over. Hey, could you do my brakes? And I'd do it for like maybe $15 because you can do them real quick. I mean, it's to do a brake job. I had a jack. I actually have a toolbox. It's sitting underneath there. I call it my brake box. It's got my caliper in there. I also have a really nice one that's a vice grip with the big things on it, so you can get into the caliper and squeeze it down real quick, and it's not in the way or anything. So I've got that now. I bought that maybe about 12 years ago, but from the 70s I was using a big C-clamp that worked for that. And I've also rebuilt calipers before. Somebody had a leaky caliper. Instead of replacing it, I'd find out what the replacement cost was for the caliper for a rebuild, and then I would charge them for that, and then I would just buy the rebuild kit myself, and I rebuild their caliper, and that made me a little tiny bit extra money, maybe an extra $6-7. So I was always doing stuff like that. And then whenever I do a brake job too, I check all their lights. I'd go over the car, look at it, and I'd say, hey, you know something, your air cleaner's ready to go, or you better change your brake fluid or something like that. Just check it all for them, so when they left there, everything was a-okay. A lot of people they forget about the brake fluid. They just don't even think about it anymore. Now, when I was in the States, I always put synthetic in because it just doesn't draw the oxygen. But what happens is this brake fluid, it'll start to draw moisture in it, and then it starts corroding your lines, and you wind up in trouble. And I actually seen a guy one time. He came out. It was what the hell? It was Chrysler, but it was aluminum. It was aluminum block, and it had a aluminum radiator in it. And it wasn't the Omni. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a funny looking little car. Kind of looked like a Gremlin. And I was looking at that, and he had just taken it up for the radiator. And I'm looking at it, it's the green stuff. I said, dude, they put the wrong one in. They actually put the wrong fluid in. There's a special fluid in for that. You don't use the green in there. So a lot of these things you got to know when you're monkeying with your car. I like to do stuff myself, but here in the Philippines, the service is incredibly cheap to get things done. And also they put it on your thing for your warranty. My warranty is up on the 27th. I had a 3-year warranty on this car, 100,000 kilometers. We're nowhere near 100,000 kilometers, but the warranty's up. And from here on out, I'm going to take it in for one last one, have them do it all over. I'd like them to do the brakes. I wanted them to redo the tires. And the thing about the Honda dealership, I've been checking prices on tires, all these tire places around in our old area. And the cheapest place for tires is the Honda dealer. And they've got a really nice set of Kumhos I want to put on there. I've had those before. I bought those tires before, Kumhos, and I believe they're Korean. And I'll tell you what, I had really good luck. I had a Ford van with that dreaded twin I-beam. I actually took the radius arms off and put polyurethane cushions in there to try to help it, and it just ate the front tires off. And if you rotated it, it ate all the tires evenly, and you were lucky to get 2 years out of a set of tires. I mean, it just ate them, and it wasn't like I drove it all the time. It was mainly a highway vehicle for trips and stuff. Well, I went into the car thing. I was telling the guy, just put the cheapest ones on, and he said, hey, I'm telling you what, I got these Kumho Geolanders. He says, a lot of the guys with the Ford pickups and with your van with this twin I-beam crap, he said, they're saying these things work really great. And they were kind of expensive, but I thought, okay, I'm going to give them a try because it's expensive putting tires on every year, So he sold me those, and I had those on there for years and sold the van with them still on there. And the dude that I sold them to, a buddy from work, he drove around with those tires on there for a couple more years. They were just really good tires, and the fronts did not eat off. Now, I was rotating them regular. I have a really nice, when I was in the States, I had a really nice jack that you could slide underneath the car and lift the whole car up. You just had to make sure it didn't roll away. It had these little locks on it to keep it from rolling away, but you had to be on level ground or it would just bend those locks. But I would rotate the tires and always drop the spare. And you know, I try to keep the maintenance on the car up, because it's a lot easier to do stuff at home or at the garage than it is out on the road. That was one thing when I was very young and I was getting flats all the time and changing tires. It's dangerous. You know, when you're on the road, you can't pick your spot. So I was always one, just make sure you got good tires, make sure you got good brakes, hoses, belts. This thing, for its probably next year, I'm just going to replace all the hoses and belts. Going to do the radiator fluid. I'm going to do, you know, flush that out, replace the radiator fluid. And when I do that, I'm going to do all the hoses at the same time. The belts on these things last a long time. I looked at it the other day, inspected it, and it looks fantastic still. There's no trouble with it. The hoses actually look pretty good, but I've had hoses that looked really good before, and then all of a sudden, boom, you blew a hose. Now, you usually don't hear of them going for 5 years, but I'm into preventative maintenance. You know, I just am. Everything on this buggy is good. Now, another thing too here, and I learned this from Wes. Wes, thank you, buddy. I appreciate this. I paid a lot of money for my windshield wipers there, because I bought them at a car place. Wes found them on Lazada. I never even thought to look at Lazada, and he got the wiper blades for like 18 pesos or something like that, and put them on his buggy. And here in this country, guys, just from the sun, you know, that's why you see a lot of people when they park their car, they'll fold their mirrors in, and then they'll leave these up. You know, because they get messed up. I don't bother with that. The other thing, too, about this car I don't like is the way these mirrors fold in. Look at that. That doesn't really help you at all. You know, they should have done a better job on these mirrors, Honda. You know, I would have rather had a, you know, I know it's got the motor control. I'd rather you give me a basic model, ditch the motor control, I'll adjust it myself, and give me a real flat one here that'll fold flat to the window. You know, people are always hitting these, though. That's damaged. This got damaged from an electric tricycle chick. She ran right into my stupid car, and of course, we're never going to get anything out on that. Nothing. You know, she just ran right into us. We even had a jeepney guy that was willing to testify, and then she just ran. She jumped in her 12 mile an hour and tried to run. So I told my wife, he's just slid. Leave her go. We wouldn't get anything out of it anyway. So it's a shame. My beautiful little car got crunched, but that's just what we're dealing with. But we got renewed our insurance for another year. May we go down for the extension on the ORCR, and then July, the second week of July, we're going to go down and do it for another year. Then we got to do it every year, and you got to bring your insurance papers, guys. If you have insurance, there's other papers. Go online and look at it. There's other stuff you got to have. We keep all our receipts for this thing inside. And by the way, I've used in this vehicle since it was new, even right after I got it home, I use AMSOIL. I'm going with, because of the temperature, it says 520 or 020, but in this climate, I've been using 530. That's what it's been getting. It's been AMSOIL all the way. Also in the gearbox, it takes a 1030. You could use in a pinch a 1030 motor oil in this gearbox. It doesn't take any kind of special fluid or hypoid gear oil or anything like that. It says right on the owner's manual, if you can't find the Honda fluid, you could use 1030. So what I did was, I found out the fluid that AMSOIL has for this, and then I bought that. Now, the only problem with this vehicle is there's no plug in the bottom of the transmission. You have to take a thing and stick it down in the transmission and suck the old stuff out and then replace it with the new, which they should have put a plug. I think there should have been a plug on there so we could do it ourselves. But I just take it to the dealer. It's super cheap. I bring my own AMSOIL in there, and that did smooth up the gearbox, guys. I'm telling you. But I do not believe in this country you're ever going to have a clutch that, you know, I've had vehicles. I had trucks. I had a 3/4 ton truck for a long time with a stick in it, and I put 100 and some thousand miles on it, and I never even did an adjustment on the clutch. I'm just not hard on the clutch. Now, I was out in the country where you didn't have a lot of stop and go. Here, that's all you get is stop and go. And here's the thing, if a car up in front of you pulls up 10 feet and then stops again, and you sit there, 5 cars will nose in there, and it's just stupid what happens. And here they don't do where you can wave one guy in. You can't do that here. You just can't, because if you do that, 50 guys behind him are going to nose in, and you're going to get stuck. So, there's no consideration here. When you're driving, it should be like a zipper. The guy in front of me lets a guy in, I let the next guy in, the guy behind me lets a guy in, and the traffic moves smoothly. But it doesn't work that way here, guys. It's every man for himself. They do not train drivers here. You can get some of these driving schools, but I've seen these driving schools, and when you see a driving school car that has the big thing, student driver and all that, don't even go near it, guys. Just stay away from it, because they're going to turn right in front of you. They're going to turn into the side of your car. They're going to hit the brake. They're going to turn from the left lane to make a right. They're going to turn from the right lane to make a left. And the driver instructors just sit there. And as long as the car moves more than 2 miles an hour, they get their license here. Guys, don't think I'm joking. Don't even think I'm joking, guys. I'm serious as a heart attack. This is what you get here. They don't train them. There's no discipline. You'll be coming down a road, and it's a one-way, and they got 2 cars coming up blocking your lane. We run into this all the time when I want to make my right-hand turn to go down around, because it's safer. There's no cars coming from the right. It's just a big sweeping left turn. I can't get in there half the time because they got people coming up the wrong way. So I got to go to the next street, and that's a T. And it's, to me, and these traffic cops, let them go. Yesterday we were out, and we were coming back, and some guy stopped in the lane, put his flashers on, and started selling stuff out of his truck, and then was standing out on the driver's side talking to people on the curb. He was selling something. And the traffic cop was right there directing traffic. Why didn't he walk up to that guy? If it had been me, he'd have come up, get out of the way. But he left that guy go. And that guy, everybody, when we took off, I just happened to be in the right lane. Well, guess what? I got stuck behind him, and he wasn't moving. He was selling something out of his truck. So, and the traffic cop did nothing. I even looked at the traffic cop. I'm like, hey. And he just shrugged his shoulders and went back to waving cars by. You don't have to wave the cars by. So that's what you're going to get. I do recommend, if you come here, just don't drive. Let them handle all the stress of driving. I used to love to drive when I was young. If we were going somewhere, I wanted to be the driver. And I've actually had people saying all through the years, that guy, he's a really good driver. I don't like it here, guys. I hate to drive here. It is absolutely one of the most miserable tasks you can do, and if I had it all to do over again, I'd have never bought that car. I would have never bought it. I'd have just had another tricycle, and I would have had a little tiny car that, like, just for store trips, to the big market, or use the tricycle. But driving here is just a mess. And if you get in any kind of accident, you're going to pay. You are absolutely going to pay. It's going to be your fault. The person who has the most money, that's whose fault it is. I had a buddy that 3 guys on a motorcycle. He was sitting still. He was sitting still at the light, and they were coming in from the left to turn. Drunk, all 3 of them drunk, and they hit him right in. They hit him right in the front wheel, broke his transaxle. It was like a 4-wheel drive buggy. Broke his transaxle, cost him a boatload of money. Even with his insurance, he still had to pay like $38,000, and his insurance covered the rest. He showed me in the back of his truck just a big pile of parts that had to be replaced, and he paid for their hospital and all that stuff. And what did he do? Nothing wrong. But this is how it works here, guys. He had more money than them, and they'll go to the court, and this fellow knew that. They'll go to the court, just like that guy did to me, and they're going to put on this sad sack face, and the judge isn't going to give a ruling like, something that would be fair. They're going to give a ruling to the saddest sack in there. And they come in there, and they'll come in with crutches, and they'll come in like they're all broken and all this stuff. It doesn't matter that they were drunk with no helmets on, not following the laws on a bike that wasn't registered. Doesn't matter. If they come in with a sad story, the judge is going to give the ruling to them. Hey, that's just what I've seen here. That's my own experience. The guy that ran into us, or will pull in front of us, he'd come to my house and scream at my wife and call her every dirty name in the book. I'd come out and he'd run like hell. But when he came to court, he was like a 89-year-old, feeble old... And then when the judge would ask, and she bought it. So I lost. I lost so much. It was... We had it figured with what I lost, it was about 250,000 pesos total loss. The bike was a total loss. My $500 Shoei helmet was a total loss. I lost 5.5 weeks of work. Couldn't go in, all scraped up. Medical bills to get everything fixed up. Because when you fall on these roads, there's dog crap all over them, and you just get that ground into your skin. Everything. My boots were ruined. Those $375 boots, it skinned a hole right through the toes, the steel toes. So, and boy, that got hot, guys. I tell you, it got hot. But it was a real mess. But he made a sad sack story, and then the judge says, okay, he owes you $32,000, which he's never paid. And then when you say, hey, he didn't pay, oh, well, guess what? You got to start a whole new case again. And the guy's laughing at us. He laughs at us like, you fools, what'd you waste 3.5 years for? So they know this stuff. Morning. And so just know that when you come here, that there's stuff like this is going to happen. This is not the United States of America, where most everybody has insurance. And if they don't, I've seen guys in California that ran without insurance, and when they went to court, they take their license. They'll take their license. They take their car. They're going to garnish their wages. I'm serious. You don't do that. I had a buddy that was in an accident where he hit some lady in the rear end. He didn't have insurance, and he left the state, and he was living in another state. Well, finally, that lady found him. She got her lawyer through the insurance company, found him that he had a different state one, and guess what? When he went to renew his license, they wouldn't renew his license, and they said, you have to go see this thing. And he had to go down to this district attorney and set up a payment plan, and then they gave him his license back, but he could only drive back and forth to work. It had a stamp on it that it was only for back and forth to work until he paid off his fine. And it wasn't that much. It was, maybe $1,500. But he wound up paying that off, and I remember him telling me about that, going, yeah, it's a lot different in the U.S. But here, you get your car completely totaled here, it's totaled, and the person who caused you that total in your car is probably going to walk away scot-free, and you're just going to have a broke down car. And it would fit, if mine never did get smashed, this would be the perfect place for it. I could just push it up over in the grass over there, and we could start a junkyard. We already got the rubble heap here, so we could have the junkyard going. And we're going to go around again tonight. The kids and I go every night, and we go pick up nails and screws. We take the flashlights. I got a magnet on the way, by the way. I had a real nice roller one. I left it with the neighbor over at the other place, and I got a real nice one coming. I'll make a little roller for it and just hang it off a string, and we'll cruise down. It's a 350-pound magnet. It'll suck a dang nail from 6 inches. So I'll just make myself a little hanger for it, and we'll just push that up and down the street. I got 5 of them coming. So, and hopefully it's metal ones. So, the aluminum ones you just can't catch, but you don't see too many of that. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. This one's running kind of long, but guys, if you do want an absolute fantastic car, that little baby right there is the car. I'm telling you, especially if you're a big guy. There's plenty of room in it. I would not get their CVT though. Nobody in the history of mankind has made a modern day CVT that holds up. They fail. They all fail. So you're better off with the stick. I wish they just put a regular planetary gear system in there, regular gear drive, something that works forever and ever. I had a Ford Escort for years and years and years. It had a 4-speed, and it had the regular planetary system in its little gearbox, and guess what? That thing just held up and held up. And after we got rid of that, the people are still driving it. It's a 1985, and they're still driving that car, and they've never had any transmission trouble. But he takes care of them like I do. Oil changes, all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm going to let you go. And this is Riding Rickshaw out.